Welcome to a short introduction to coffee brewing. Coffee cultivation, preparation, and consumption has a long tradition dating back to the early 16th century, resulting in many innovations and developments along the course of its history. From the types of soil and plant, to roasting and brewing, each step just as intricate and varied as the last. However, the process affecting us most in our day-to-day would be how our coffee is simply brewed. Well or poorly brewed coffee, and with which method, has a large impact on our experience of the beverage, as then the locked potential of the beans are released, resulting in a varied experience of possible taste and texture, origin of course being the same bean. So with this, let us dive into 3 great methods for brewing at home. Let's start with filter brewers. In this method, one pours water over a bed of coffee. Here I use a medium to fine grind to increase surface area for finer extraction, being careful to weigh the coffee beforehand. I went with a ratio of 80 grams per liters because I like a stronger coffee, but feel free to start with a ratio at around 60 grams per liters instead. Next, pour hot filtered water with a low hardness. Ideal calcium hardness being around 68 milligrams per liters, over your grounds. Straining it through a fine filter, in this case paper, but cloth and metal filters are also perfectly viable options too. After all the water passes through, you should have a wonderful coffee with a light texture and body. Cheers! Next would be the French press. Like before, I carefully weighed out my coffee. Here, I also go for a ratio of 80 grams per liters. I went with a coarse grind, as the French press is an infusion brewer. Unlike other methods, where the water passes through the grounds in one way or another, in this method the coffee is suspended in the water and they steep together in harmony like tea. This produces a very uniform cup of coffee, though it takes a bit of patience as you can clearly see. Here, I waited 4 minutes and waited for all the coffee to rise to the top. You then stir the coffee, making it sink to the bottom, leaving foam and some small lightweight grounds at the top. Feel free to scoop them with your spoon and remove it from the coffee. After which, wait a while longer, circa 5 minutes or until your personal preference is reached. Some don't plunge the plunger to separate the grounds from the solution, as it can create turbulences that stir up the silt, but I find the act of plunging pleasing, so I went with it anyways. Next, all you need to do is pour a coffee for you and your friends. Though as the metal mesh is quite coarse, coffee oils and small coffee fragments still get through. So expect a richer body and texture. Cheerio! Lastly, we have the stovetop moka pot. In this method, we use a finer grind, closer to that of an espresso, but not quite there. The ratio is rather fixed, as you want a full basket during brew. The ratio tends to be 10 to 1, so for 300 milliliters of water, for example, around 30 grams of coffee should be put into the basket. Before, I put pre-boiled water for a faster brew and also in hopes of reducing the bitterness of the resulting extraction. Generally, a low to medium heat is advised, but my stove only had the state on or off, so I would highly recommend a gentler flame. The boiling water will build pressure in the base, pushing water up through the basket into the reservoir above. Once most of the water passed through, it's recommended to cool the pot to stop the brewing process, as leaving it on for too long can also increase bitterness. Last thing to do now is to pour and enjoy your stronger and generally more bitter coffee. Cheerio! Also, again remember, low heat, this will happen.